All right, everybody, thanks for joining in. This episode, we're taking a trip across the pond once again, and well, I'm trying to. We've had to have done British horror on here before, right?
We've had to do a few of them, right?
I think so. But
Gotta be something.
This episode, we are talking about a British / American, I don't know what that means, horror movie from 1983, and I didn't realize this until just now, but this must have been sitting on the shelf for a while because the article I have up in front of me says that it actually wasn't released until 1986, which is a little weird.
I can explain that.
Oh, okay. 1983's Screamtime.
Yeah, this is one of those anthology films, and just to go back real quickly, just to explain what you just said with this whole, like, what did you say? It started it was...
Well, it's labeled as 83, but it was released in 86.
Okay. Well, maybe it was, because actually what Screamtime is, and which I did not know this until going on to Horrorpedia, is that Screamtime, actually, it's an anthology film, so there's 3 shorts in it. Well, anyhow, these 3 shorts were actually released separately in, probably in the UK, basically, you go to the movie theater, and before when the trailers were playing or whatever, they would play these shorts. So they ended up filming some stuff in New York, which is a sort of wraparound story that kind of connects all 3 of these anthology stories. And that's probably why it was released later, is because
because it looks like here, like, the first one was released in 1981, and then the other 2 were released in 82.
Yeah.
So then, that's kind of weird.
It is weird, yeah. So if you go there, it says these are Stanley Long shorts that have been issued theatrically in the UK as support for features. So, yeah, basically they were, a feature film was released in the UK, and then let's toss in this short film, in the beginning of it or whatever. So that's kind of cool. Kind of a neat thing, because I'm a big fan of shorts. There's a lot of good short horror films out there, and so these. So basically, Screamtime is like your typical anthology, like Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the funny thing with that opening sequence and then the in between the other stories is the guy goes into this video store and steals these tapes and then goes over to some chick's house, which I thought was funny. Like, we're gonna watch these movies, and she's getting ready to go out, and
yeah.
Wait, when is she going out? Like at midnight? You're gonna watch 3 movies before she goes out?
Yeah, I thought you would really dig the whole VHS thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I'm trying to remember now exactly how I did it, but yeah, they basically ran in and grabbed these tapes and ran out with them. And you got to remember too, this would have been in 83. So if he took 3 tapes, that's got to be grand larceny felony or whatever, there, because that would have been $14,000 worth of merchandise back in those days.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody was saying, this goes back to the Child's Play episode, but somebody was saying that where they go to see their horror movies at, I can't remember which theater it was, I was reading on Facebook or something, but they always play, if it's a remake, they always play something related to the original one, and they played a trailer for an advertisement for the original Child's Play when it was coming out on video, and the advertisement, and so Child's Play must not have been readily available when it first was released on video. It must have just been a rental thing, because the ad, even though it would have been 88, 89, the ad said, get your copy for only $89. And I guess some people were like,
yeah,
what? And the guy was like, oh no, that was true. That's how much tapes were back in those days.
Yeah, it's weird you say that, because Child's Play came out, I think, 87, 88?
Yeah, that's why, it's weird that it would have been so much, but, so it must have been...
Wasn't it was it Keaton's Batman that really mainstreamed the whole VHS thing?
Yeah, which makes sense, because that was in '89. So,
89.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
Child's Play would have been a year before that. So, yeah, that would make sense then.
So yeah, probably. I think because I remember like going to Jewel, the grocery store in town, and they had Batman for sale, and like my mom said, "Hey, you want that?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's grab it." And it was kind of like one of those things where VH. It just seemed like at that point, like you could go to pretty much any like a grocery store or a department store, and they'd have a movie, and you could buy it for the first time.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, Child's Play came out before the Batman because Batman was '89. Yeah, it makes sense then that it would have been like still at that price.
Might have been like one of the last of those that era where it was really expensive like that.
Well, I'll tell you, man. I mean, this goes off of I mean, not to get too sidebarred on the discussion here, but if tapes wouldn't have been so expensive in the early days of the video store rental places, I mean, there's no way that the video store rental places would have survived nearly as long as they did.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at it now, like you can go to Walmart, and you could buy. I'm not saying they're necessarily good movies, but you can go to Walmart and you could buy a DVD in the the $3.97 bin,
right?
Which is back in those days. I mean, that's how much a rental was for new movies. You have all these other things, like Redbox and all that other stuff that really cut into the home theater. But I mean, back in those days, if you would have had, if your parents would have had the choice of, hey, let's go to the video store and pay whatever, $4 a movie for a couple of movies that we have to have back tomorrow by 3:00 or whatever the heck it was. Or we can go run down to Walmart and then you can each run in and get a movie that you can watch 20 times or however many times you want to watch it for the same price.
Totally different times, big time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Considerably. I wanted to say how I first discovered Screamtime because I know, a lot of people probably listening is like, what the hell movie are you guys talking about? Like, where'd you find Screamtime? And Screamtime actually, this goes back a long ways for me because I was a big, I'm like, Jaws is one of my favorite movies of all time. And so I always followed like all the rip-offs, like Piranha, Tentacles. I think we talked about this before. And Alligator was one of those horror movies, monster horror movies that I was really big on as a kid. And I remember it's almost like I have a memory of seeing it in the theater when I was really little, like when it first came out, but I don't know for sure if that actually happened. But I remember finally like wanting to go rent it, and you couldn't find it anywhere. It was like all the video stores in town, nobody had it. So there was this one like further in the town next, over, there was this huge video store, and they actually had it. And so I would rent it there, and I watched it over and over and over again. And the distributor for Alligator was Lightning Video, and they say it. And that when you watch the old VHS tape, it said, stay tuned for trailers for other Lightning Video, films or whatever. And then one of those trailers was Screamtime. And I remember goes back to the whole back in the day when you would take two VCRs and plug one into the other or whatever, and you would record. You'd copy basically the tape. And I remember we had a copy of Alligator, so I had that trailer on there as well because I would let it record all the way through. And I was like, that looked pretty creepy. Like the trailer for Screamtime is especially when you're a little kid, it was really creepy. And so then I remember finally finding it in the video store, Screamtime, and the cover for it was like absolutely nothing like that was in the movie, so it would totally throw you off if you were looking for it. When I found it, I was like, oh, crap, that's that movie. And I remember renting it. I think I was like in 7th grade when I first saw it. And I was into, this was, going back to Child's Play and stuff. I think it was, because 7th grade would have been like right around the time Child's Play came on to VHS because it was 87, 88 when it came out. And I was like in 7th grade around 89, I think. So I was really into the whole killer doll thing. And one of the stories in this is like a killer puppet, and I remember that was part of the trailer, and I was like, oh, I got to see this. And so that was my first time watching it. And then so when I saw this on Amazon, I was like, yeah, we got to go back. We got to review this one. I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah, my first time seeing it was when you're like, "Hey, we're gonna do Screamtime," and I was like, "What?"
So why don't we start with the first one? So, the first story is the puppet story. It's called, basically that's the way to do it. It's the first story of the anthology, and it's about this old man who he entertains children. He's like, sets up a little puppet show on the boardwalk in town, and he's like really into his puppets, and I guess he's having some financial issues, and his wife's kind of on his back, and his stepson he's not connected with, and they keep giving him a lot of grief because he's like more focused on his puppets than he is with his family.
Well, the whole like Punch and Judy setup was it's kind of cool to see like that in a movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we say that, I think that gives everybody like kind of the sort of puppets we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
The whole Punch and Judy kind of puppeteer thing.
With wooden heads with like.
Yeah. Anytime I see something like that, it always reminds me of Mr. Rogers for some reason.
Oh yeah, totally. It's got that like lady. What was it? Lady Elaine?
Like the characters in whatever in the Pretend Land or whatever it was.
Yeah, totally.
They always had that look to them. But it's always kind of funny though when you actually see the Punch and Judy like dolls. Like it's actually kind of violent. I don't know that Mr. Rogers was really going for that kind of thing when he was designing the sets for his whatever Pretend Land or whatever the heck it was called.
Yeah, and the Punch doll, it's a really creepy doll, when you look at it. It's like this, kind of jester kind of look with a big, the over extended chin and nose, and like that little hat with the little bell at the tip, and basically, it's like these two puppets that would fight each other all the time, and like the Punch doll has this like wooden stick, and he's always beating the other puppet with it.
Right.
In the trailer, they show like somehow this puppet comes to life or something and is killing people. Like that's what you see in the trailer. And so like as soon as this episode comes on, I was like, oh, this is the one. This is the one about the killer puppet. And it's basically like so these this issue with this guy and his family, they're not happy with him, and his stepson ends up like going with his friends, and they set his, what do they call it? Like a stage where the puppets play in, like what's that called again? I can't think of the name of that. Like a puppet show thing. Basically it's a box where
right.
like you're hiding behind it and you're doing the show. Well, anyway, they set that on fire and they burn some of the puppets, and he gets really upset about it. And after that happens, the puppet goes and starts killing some people. We see like from the puppet's perspective, and like we're talking the Punch doll. He kills I'm not going to go into everything, but he kills a few of these characters, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Did the doll come alive? Is he trying to protect the old man or whatever? And I thought it was a really good, as low budget as this film was, and watching it on Amazon, I think we talked about it too, like with when we did the Mary Lou episode, where you had said like when I ordered Mary Lou, there was probably some guy at Amazon like sitting in a box somewhere,
popping the tape in,
because that was the same thing with Screamtime. It literally felt like we were watching a VHS. I mean, you had like the sound was terrible. There was like white noise the entire time you're watching it. I mean, like you're hearing throughout the whole film. It was like an old VHS tape the whole time. It wasn't widescreen, it was like like the old classic box TV
right.
full screen.
Yeah, that always reminds me of like the DVD version of Curtains.
Yeah.
Is like somebody like you were talking about with the two VCRs hooking them up together, daisy chaining them to copy the tape from one tape to the other. That's what I always think of when you see some of these movies like on DVD or like that, is like somebody like wired up a VH or a VCR to a DVD player that with a like a burner on it, or to like their computer or something to get a digital copy of it, and they just play the tape and rip it right from there. It's not like somebody actually had access to the original film. Which is
Right,
weird because the
exactly.
Blu-ray. Well, I can't remember now if the Blu-ray is good or not of Curtains because I have the Blu-ray of that.
Isn't it? They cleaned it up, didn't they?
I can't. I think so. I don't think it's perfect, but it's not like when you watch like Psycho on Blu-ray or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it's like almost too clean.
Yeah, right.
But
Maybe it's not as good, but
yeah, I can't
better.
remember if it's really good or not.
What did you think of the second story, Dream House?
Yeah, that one was kind of weird. I mean, they were all kind of weird, but
Yeah, I can imagine you watching this one. Like, what are you thinking? It's like, what is this stuff?
I remember thinking like, this might be the last time Mark gets to pick a movie.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny because the only one that I really cared about, as was the puppet one because I had like again I told you it was like around the time Child's Play came out. And I was more into like the killer doll thing. But Dreamhouse was actually really creepy in the trailer because it shows that scene where somebody's getting stabbed in the bathtub. Like that was in the trailer. Again, going back to the renting Alligator and from Lightning Video, and then after the credits they play all these Lightning Video trailers, and Screamtime's one of them. But one of the scenes in that trailer is this somebody getting stabbed in the bathtub, and it's pretty gory at especially when you're a little kid watching that. And I remember thinking, wow, Scream Time must be pretty intense. But this dream house is, it's a story about this couple that move into this new house, and the mom or the wife, I'm sorry, there's no kids. The wife keeps seeing this little boy riding his bike in her front yard. And then she keeps telling her husband, he's like, oh, there's nobody out there. And then she keeps hearing things, and she has all these weird hallucinations of things going on in the house. And it turns out like where she ends up, seeing all this crazy stuff, all these somebody coming in and killing people. And I actually thought it was pretty good for like this, again, low budget, crappy little UK film that, nobody's probably ever heard of. I thought it was much better watching it this time than it was back when back as a kid. Because I didn't really care about these other episodes.
Yeah, the one thing with the whole movie is it's kind of weird when you see it, and like if it didn't come out until however it came out in '86, but like the whole movie just has like this weird like '70s vibe to it, because it kind of reminded me of a little bit of like Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah,
like it was just like that kind of quality to it.
Right.
And then when you realize like, oh wait, this actually came out in the mid '80s, and maybe it was just because it was a UK thing.
Yeah,
maybe that was part of it. I don't know if like maybe UK was a little bit behind the times. They weren't, their cameras in 1983 were the 1977 version of the cameras we had over here. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be it. It definitely felt old.
Yeah, and especially when you watch it now, you're like, man, when was this made? What was this? Is this something for like the BBC back in the day, or just? Yeah, it definitely was an interesting collection of stories. That's for sure.
And then we go into the last anthology story, which was basically about this kid, probably like late teens, looking for work, and he gets a job as like a maintenance guy at this, living with these for these two old women that live in this house. And these old women keep talking, about fairies and gnomes and all this weird stuff, and they've got like gnomes all over the house. And anyhow, the guy's like he wants to, I forget why he needed the money. Wasn't there something he was, yes, this is terrible doing a review and not remembering everything. But there was something about like obviously wanted some money, and then he finds like, so they're going to pay him, but then he ends up watching, and he sees that one of the old women like opening up a safe, and he's like, oh crap, that's what I want to do. I want to go in there and steal this money. So he grabs his buddies, and they like go and sneak in, which I thought was kind of funny because, yeah, there's a couple old ladies that live in this house, but they go back to this to their home, and they sneak in, and like they're literally like this is like the safe is in like where the two old ladies sleep, and like so they literally creep into the house, creep into the bedroom, and they're gonna put a rope around the safe and pull it out, like while these old women are sleeping. It's like that seemed kind of goofy. That was probably the worst one of the whole bunch. And actually, strangely enough, watching it again it was like kind of like, yeah, it wasn't terrible, but it was like definitely I like the other two stories better. But then there was a whole scene where the one kid, like he's like walking in a room, and all of a sudden these gnomes appear out of nowhere, and then they disappear, and then they appear, and then this like little guy jumps on his back dressed in a gnome suit, which was pretty.
Yeah, it's kind of
pretty great stuff right there.
Yeah, I don't know if you get away with that these days.
And then there was that weird, like, oh gosh, like, I don't know, princess or whatever it was, that woman in the sun hat or whatever she was supposed to represent, and she was in the photo or in the painting. Anyhow, I'll leave that up to all of you who want to go watch Screamtime. I'm not going to even explain that to you. But there's some interesting stuff in this film. But then again, there's this all these 3 anthology stories, and then there's this wraparound thing with the guys that stole the tapes, and then they're watching it, and then there's this bizarre, like, so the chick, she, like, yeah, like you said, they go to this chick's house, and they're like, hey, we're gonna go watch some movies, and she's like, well, I'm leaving soon, like, and then he goes and like grabs some chicken and beer in her fridge, and sits back and starts the films, and then the other guys like kind of like the chick sort of kind of going towards him, and like he ends up like with her, which was kind of weird. But then that finishes up, and that kind of concludes as well. But again, I won't give that away either because I don't want to spoil the wonders of Screamtime.
No, the wonders of Screamtime. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting watch, that's for sure.
Interesting watch. What would you say? Give it at least that it's a beer and popcorn film, or would you say it's a chicken and popcorn?
Yeah.
Chicken and beer film?
Yeah, I don't think I could go with either one of those. I'll give you credit on the first, like that first stories was with the Punch and Judy dolls. Like that one is okay, but the other two, and then the whole like stuff. Hey, let's watch these movies to kind of tie it all together. Stuff, kind of. The rest of that was garbage, to put it lightly. But the first one was okay. The only thing with the first one though was like that kid with his whatever his stepdad or whatever it is. Man, you just wanted to punch that kid in the face.
Yeah, he was pretty.
He was a complete jerk. But yeah, the first one was okay. But then, yeah, the other one, like the gnome one, was I will say the thing with the gnome one, when the guy, like the short person, jumped out with the gnome outfit on, and that's why I'm still not 100% sure if like was that supposed to be like a real gnome, or was that like a guy that they just had hidden in the closet to help? Was he like moving the gnomes around? Or what was going on? But
yeah,
it was. I will say this is what I'll say about Screamtime. I'll go ahead and give it a thumbs down.
Oh no, you can't do that. All right, well I'm gonna have to counter that with a big thumbs up. I actually, strangely enough, went into this remembering that it was a low budget kind of crappy film, thinking I was gonna just barely get through it, and I actually enjoyed it more and I appreciated it more this time, which is really weird, and I don't understand why that was. So I'm going to have to give it a thumbs up, and I definitely will say the Punch and Judy story is the best out of the 3, but the other 2 are worth your time as well. I don't know that I'd call it a beer and popcorn film either. I don't know what I'd call it, but it was enjoyable, and it's one of those films that you're really digging into the. I don't know where you would dig into this, because as a horror movie fan, if you've seen all the classics and you've seen some. I mean, this is definitely an obscure film,
right? Yeah, this is because, like I'd said, until you mentioned it, I'd never heard of it before, and I mean, it's not one of those ones that even though it's a lightning video release, like you don't really see it floating around anywhere. Because I think when I was looking around. Like, I don't think I actually saw a copy of it anywhere.
I did find a beta copy on eBay that was going for like 90 to $100 or something like. Yeah, pretty cool. It was. We're kind of on the. We're mixed on this one, so
Yeah, it's kind of been the trend lately.
it has been.